Here again with my final Breaking Bad Season 5B episode review videos. I've reached the series finale of Breaking Bad. Before I get into that, though, pretty important, if you aren't caught up to the point where I am and rewatching or watching Breaking Bad, which is every single episode of Breaking Bad, then I highly suggest that you don't watch this video any further to avoid any potential spoilers. And for all of you out there that are wondering, if you didn't know already, I've seen Breaking Bad at least 8 times. This might even be my 10th time watching the show. So join me on this journey of discussing this show in the comment section, along with the legendary Crazy Coffee Man, who is a Breaking Bad fan, as well as a Dexter fan, and a Lucifer fanatic. So with all that said, this will be Breaking Bad Season 5, Episode 16, the series finale of Breaking Bad. The title of this episode is called Felina. And this will be my review, reaction, recap after just finishing watching the episode. And I should state, this isn't going to be my final Breaking Bad video. I'm going to review El Camino. I'm going to do a seasons ranking of Breaking Bad. And then I just might do an episodes ranked of Breaking Bad. And that'll be it. And then at some point this year, I'll review Better Call Saul, which I've actually done the final season already of Better Call Saul on this channel. There's a playlist. But at some point this year, probably August-ish, maybe before, I'll be reviewing every single episode, starting from the beginning, and then redoing the final season of Better Call Saul. But back to the series finale of Breaking Bad. We start with Walt getting into a car with his box of money, and Walt finds a flathead screwdriver in the glove box. The car is covered in snow, but Walt can see flashing lights. The police have arrived, and Walt finds the keys to the vehicle behind the driver's side visor, and Walt pulls up to a gas station and pumps gas. Walt goes to a payphone, asks for Susan, and says he's David. Gretchen and Elliot have moved, but Walt's able to get their new information. Basically, they thought he was like some person that was going to take pictures of them, but he's not, and the person on the other line must have been a complete moron, unless somebody named David was going to take pictures of him, which I guess is plausible that Walt knew that information. I don't know. But after this conversation, when he gets Gretchen and Elliot's new address, he leaves the watch that Jesse Pinkman gave him for his birthday present on top of the payphone. Gretchen and Elliot have arrived home. Walt is able to get into Gretchen and Elliot's home once they've arrived. Gretchen and Elliot are in the kitchen while Walt is in the living room just kind of looking at some pictures. And Gretchen goes into the living room. She turns on the fire and gets startled seeing somebody standing there. Elliot immediately comes in the living room, and then Walt's like, "Hello, Gretchen, Elliot. I really like your new house." And then Walt, "What are you doing here?" Gretchen says. And Walt says he's here to give them something. And Elliot points a knife at Walt, and Walt's like, "You're gonna probably need a bigger knife if you're gonna go there." And Walt has brought in $9 million, so he must have gone back to that cabin that was in the middle of nowhere that Ed had took him to and got the rest of his money. And he has $9 million on the table, and he's like, "I earned it, and you're going to give it to my children." And Walt tells them they're not to spend any of their own money. If there's any fees involved or lawyers that they have to pay, you take it out of my money. And what happens next, I guess we shake on it and I leave. And then Walt's like, "I can trust you to do this." And Elliot says, "Yes, absolutely you can." And then Gretchen and Elliot both see that they now have a red light on them, like somebody's got them in their scope and they're about to get shot. As they believe they're a target of somebody's rifle. And Walt says that he gave $200,000 to 2 of the best hitmen west of the Mississippi. Now, whatever happens to me tomorrow, they'll still be out there keeping tabs. If for any reason my children don't get this money, a countdown will begin. And then Walt tells them, "Cheer up, beautiful people. This is where you get to make it right." And then Walt leaves Gretchen and Elliot's place. And then Walt stops on the side of the road and picks up his 2 hitmen. Of course, those hitmen are Badger and Skinny Pete, who are just shining laser pointer pens at Gretchen and Elliot. And Pete says he didn't know how he felt about that. And Walt hands them money, and he's like, how do you feel now? He's like, I'm good now. And then Walt asks them about the blue meth that's out there. And Skinny Pete and Badger thought that Walt was the one cooking it. And then Walt guesses it's Jesse. And Skinny Pete thought that Jesse moved to Alaska. Not yet. So we see Jesse making a wooden box some time ago, probably when he was in high school. And back to Walt's 52nd birthday scene. He's at Denny's. He gets the automatic weapon, or the automatic weapons in his trunk, the M60. And then he goes to the house to get the old house that they lived at, to get the ricin that he had behind the outlet. A flashback to the pilot of... so Walt's standing there, and he reminisces about the scene from the pilot episode with Hank talking about going on a ride-along and get a little excitement in your life. Wow, what excitement that he had. And then Walt leaves the house. Lydia and Todd meet at their usual meeting time. Lydia orders her tea and grabs the last packet of stevia. Todd comes and he likes her shirt, and Lydia corrects him like it's a blouse. Walt comes over and sits down. Before you say or do anything, just hear me out. Nobody knows I'm here. Just listen for 2 minutes and then I'll leave. Please, just 2 minutes of your time. That's all I ask. You're running out of methylamine. I have a new method that will keep you in business. Lydia asks how he knew to meet them there, and Walt's like, 10 a.m. every Tuesday. You're rather schedule-oriented, Walt tells Lydia. And then Lydia gets her tea and asks for more packets of stevia. And Todd doesn't want to do business with Mr. White, and Lydia agrees. Did you look at him? You'd be doing a favor. So basically, Lydia played dumb. He wants Walt to go see Jack, and then Lydia wants them to take Walt out. That way, she wanted to take Mike out, remember? So Lydia puts what she thinks is stevia in her tea. Walt's out in the desert rigging something up with that M60. We see Skylar at her new place. Marie calls and says Walt's in town. She says that Walt said hi to the neighbor. He looks like the Unabomber, and he's got a manifesto that he's going to do tonight. There's no way he's getting to you. You be on the lookout, okay? And Skylar's like, yeah, uh-huh. And then when Skylar hangs up from Marie, the camera zooms in, and you can actually see that Walt is actually already there in the kitchen. And Skylar says 5 minutes. He says he didn't hurt anybody, didn't have to, as Skylar chain smokes. You look terrible, Skylar says to Walt. Yeah, but I feel good. So talk. Why are you here? It's over, and I needed a proper goodbye, not our last phone call. Skylar tells Walt about the 3 men that threatened her. They're not coming back. Not after tonight. Walt reaches into his wallet, and Skylar's like, I don't want your money, Walt. I don't have any to give you. All I have to give you is this. And he gives Skylar the lottery ticket. Call the DEA once I leave. Those numbers are GPS coordinates. Burial site. That's where they'll find the bodies of Hank and Steve Gomez. That's where I buried our money, and that's where the men stole it from us. They murdered Hank and Steve and put them in that hole. Skylar, all the things that I did, you need to understand, I did it for me. I liked it. I was good at it. And I was alive. And Skylar thought Walt was going to say he did it for the family, and he changed his tune this time. Like, Walt did this stuff because he actually enjoyed doing it. Yeah, shit happened, but he was good at it, and he felt important. And Skylar mentions that Flynn will be home soon. Flynn. And before I go, may I see her? And Skylar lets Walt see Holly, and then Walt leaves. Flynn arrives home via the school bus. Walt is actually able to see Junior from the laundry area as he's looking through the window. And then we have Walt arriving at Jack's place. Kenny meets him. He asks him something about the engine, like a 240 or 500 stuff terminology for cars that I don't really know because I'm not a car guy. And as I just went past where my place was. And then Kenny gets in the car with him. It's a classic car that Kenny really likes, and they head to the clubhouse. Kenny gives Walt directions on where to park, and Walt just parks in a different place. And Kenny's like, whatever. And Walt parks right next to where the windows are for the clubhouse. And Walt gets a pat down. He lifts up his shirt to show that he's not wearing a wire. And then when he goes in the clubhouse, Jack asks Walt about his head of hair. It's not a wig. Otherwise, you look like shit. And Walt wants Todd to explain the benefit of what he's offering. And then Todd tells Walt, you really shouldn't have come back, Mr. White. And then they pull a gun out on Walt. And then Walt tells Jack, you partnered with Jesse Pinkman. And Jack says, you think I'd partner with a rat? And Jack gets really defensive and says, where's that little piece of shit at? And Todd says he's finishing up a batch. And Todd goes to get him. And after he shows him how wrong he is, he's putting a bullet in his head himself, putting a bullet inside Walt himself. They're going to keep Jesse to keep cooking for them, I believe, until they run out of product. And then Walt sneakily reaches for his keys that are on the pool table. And then when Jesse arrives, he's all beat up, battered. His hair is a mess, and he's shackled. Does this look like a partner to you? Walt stands face to face with Jesse. And then Walt takes Jesse down to the ground. And then Walt hits the button on his keys to open the trunk. And the M60 starts firing. Kills the two guys that are outside. Kills almost all of Jack's men in the clubhouse area, including Kenny. And then it finally runs out of ammunition. Todd has survived. Jesse gets up and put his chains around Todd's neck, choking Todd to death. Serves him right for killing Andrea. Andrea, in my opinion, was pointless as all hell. Her and Jane, like Andrea is way down here, and Jane's really up here. I mean, I don't know. Although we got a lot of time with it. We didn't really get a lot of time with Andrea. We got like 4 or 5 episodes with her. Her time on the show is really spread out. But anyway, so Jesse grabs Todd's keys out of his pocket to undo his cuffs. And Jack's still moving. He's still alive. Walt grabs a gun, and Walt points the gun at Jack, and he says, wait. And Jack grabs his cigarette. You want your money, right? Want to know where it is? You pull that trigger, you'll never... And then Walt shoots Jack and kills him. So Walt doesn't give a shit about the money. He already gave Gretchen and Elliot $9+ million, and that's what's left of his legacy. And then Walt puts the gun on the ground and slides it over to Jesse. Jesse picks up the gun and points it at Walt. And Walt tells Jesse to do it. You want this. And then Jesse's like, say the words. Say you want this. Nothing happens until I hear you say it. I want this, Walt says. Jesse notices that Walt's also been shot in the right side. And Jesse drops the gun and says, then do it yourself. And then we hear, Lydia, oh Lydia, coming from Todd. It's his ringtone. So Todd is obsessed with Lydia. She's calling, and Walt answers. And Lydia says, is it done? Is he gone? And Walt says, yeah, they're all gone. And Lydia's like, who is this? And it's Walt. How are you feeling? Like you have the flu? Walt slipped ricin into her stevia crap that she's always putting in her tea. Bye, Lydia. Ooh. So Jesse and Walt are outside now, and they kind of look at each other with like a moment of respect. Like, yeah, Walt was terrible for Jesse, but he at least wrote her wrong in the end. He can't fix everything, but Jesse's gonna survive. All the Nazi guys are dead. And then Jesse gets into Todd's El Camino and drives away. And then Jesse either laughs or cries. It's kind of hard to tell. And then screams at the end of the episode. So he's like, I don't know if he was crying or laughing there. And then he screams. And that's the last we see of Jesse in Breaking Bad. And then Walt looks around, looks at his wound, and knows that the end, it's near. He's badly wounded. So Walt goes into their meth lab, and Walt admires the mask that they used, the mask that he had from it's not the exact one, but the same type of mask that was in the chemistry lab. And then police are about to pull in, as you can see them in the background. And Walt touches the tank and then he falls over, and Walt lays motionless on the ground. The police enter as Baby Blue plays. The police with guns drawn check Walt's body, and that's what ends Breaking Bad. So Walter White is dead. There was some confusion, like maybe he's still alive. He wasn't pronounced dead, but we find out later. This was an amazing finale. One of the best finales that I ever watched. Not the best, I think. Oh, it could be the best. There's some other finales that I really like, but there's some that I really hate too. But this was definitely a good finale. And the people behind Dexter should take note of what it takes to make a good finale. And this is your example. So this episode is a 10 out of 10 for me. And let's just say the character of the episode, the character of the series, Walter Hartwell White is the character of the episode. The females didn't really have a lot. Marie had a brief phone call. Lydia had a meeting, and then her without makeup looking like shit with the flu. And then Skylar is going to be the female character of the episode if you really want to give a female a character of the episode. What a wild ride reviewing and rewatching this show. It's a show that I liked the first time I watched it, but each time I watch it, it keeps getting better and better. It's not my favorite show of all time, but it's definitely up there. Right now, it sits at number 3 on my all-time favorite list, but it's one of the most rewatchable shows. I rewatch it like every other year, at least. So there you have it. Those are my thoughts on the finale of Breaking Bad. Of course, come back to the channel. I will be reviewing El Camino, and then I will be re-ranking the seasons, and I think I'm going to include El Camino in that ranking, and I'm actually going to split Season 5 up into two parts. Season 5A in Season 5B. I think that's what I'm going to do, just to have something different than my previous ranking, which actually, my ranking will change. It has changed based on this most recent rewatch, but that's what I think I'm going to do. I'm going to split Season 5 into 2 parts because they happen like a year after each other, just to make it interesting. So, you've heard everything that I have to say. Now it's your turn. If you're a fan of Breaking Bad and you want to help me out with the YouTube algorithm, as well as a fan of Better Call Saul and El Camino, a Breaking Bad movie, then make sure that you Hulk smash the like button. Otherwise, Mr. White will come after you. Share the video with a friend. Put this video on any one of your social media platforms. Don't forget to sound off in the comment section and talk to me and the legendary Crazy Coffee Man about your experience with the show Breaking Bad, your thoughts on this episode, your score of the episode, your character or characters of the episode. Remember to click right here for my Better Call Saul series finale video or review, assuming you've seen every single episode of Better Call Saul. And then last but certainly not least, don't forget to hit that sub button. You're watching the video anyway. Subscribe to the channel, join the team, share your damn support, and be a part of something special. And you never know what you're going to see on JDev TV.